Imagine being able to get detailed information out of your Braze using natural language and AI. Well, now you can with Braze MCP Server. Give me a list of active canvases from Braze. Wow, what is my highest converting canvas? Wow, can you turn this into a bar chart? Wow, stop global warming. So cool. So cool. By the end of this video, with some simple setup that I'm going to walk you through, you'll be able to pull canvas details, report data, and heaps of other things. And then you can prompt AI with deeper questions or get it to create charts or reports for you without ever needing to open Braze. First, let's understand what an MCP server is, because that alone is enough to get your arrays at work. The great thing about MCP servers is that how it works is actually in the name. Model, context, protocol. We give it a model, any LLM such as ChatGPT or Gemini, but for Braze MCP, it currently supports Claude and Cursor. Next, we give it context, which is any extra information we give the model to work with. In this case, context is access to your Braze. And finally, we need protocol, a set of rules for the MCP server to work with. So why does an AI model need this? Well, there are two big reasons. AI models don't tend to know recent stuff because they're generally only updated once or twice a year. For example, if you ask AI about the details of Taylor Swift's recent engagement, it's likely not going to know anything or will give you a very average answer. Meaning that when you go to work and everybody is talking about it, you're going to be left out, you'll probably lose your job, you'll end up on the street, and you'll ultimately get run over by a bus that's advertising the Eras tour. And reason number two, context is expensive. In our example, we'd have to feed it all the recent news data for it to be up to date on Taylor Swift's engagement, and that's a lot of data. MCP solves both these issues by giving us a standard where we can feed context to LLMs efficiently and programmatically. Just as USB-C allows you to plug lots of different devices into your computer, MCP servers allow you to plug lots of different tools into your LLM in a standardized way. For example, adding your Braze to Claude to give Claude more context about your Braze.
All right, let's build an MCP server.
And it's not going to take long at all. So don't panic too much if you are not familiar with things like the command line or editing config files. The documents take you through it really clearly, and I'm going to guide you through it anyway, so let's get into this. So first you're going to want to go into the Braze docs. I'll put the link in here so you can see that. And step one is you have to install what's called UV. You either do this for Mac and Linux, you can use the command that's here, or you can click Windows and it'll show you the Windows examples of these. You don't need to type all this out. I'm going to use the Linux one just because I use what's called the bash terminal. So you need to use the bash terminal or PowerShell if you're on Windows. You want to know where those are, just hit the Windows key and type PowerShell and that should open up for you. You just need to take this line here, you just need to copy this. I'm going to open my bash terminal up and I'm going to do paste. Now mine's probably going to say this is already installed because I've already installed this bit, but if you hit this, it'll do a little bit of thinking. And once it's installed, it tells you, it should say here, everything installed, and mine says everything installed, so we know that's worked okay. If you really want to check if that's okay, type UVX --version. This is in bash, there'll be a different one in Windows, and hit enter, and it'll tell you what version that is. And if there's a version there, then you know it's working just fine. Second thing you need to do is you need to create an API key inside of Braze, because the MCP server needs to be able to connect to your Braze instance to know where to pull the data from. So in Braze, you want to go to Settings, APIs and Identifiers, and up the top here, you want to go to API keys. Now you don't share your API key with people. This is really important because these are connected to your instance of Braze. So I'm going to blur mine out in this video. If you want to create a new API key, you just click Create New API Key. Now, really important, when you do that, you can name your key what you want, and you can pick from here the permissions that key is allowed to have. In some cases, you may need all permissions. In some cases, you specify exactly what you want for a key. But in this case, Braze has actually specified exactly what you should put in there. There's a little drop-down list just here, and it goes through, you want campaigns.data series, campaigns.details. So under campaigns, you'll be able to click into here and click the exact ones you need for that key. They're very specific about what you should select, and it's likely because an MCP server can access anything you give it permission to, so you don't necessarily want to give it permission to things that it shouldn't have access to. For example, delete users. You probably wouldn't give it access to something like that. Not because we don't trust it, you just got to be safe. If I go to my API key, I can see the permissions I've given it, and I've given it the exact list of things that it should have for each of these sections. What we need the actual key that's in here, and you can click this to copy that. And we're going to need the REST API point, which is up here, and we can click that as well to copy that. So we'll need those in just a minute. Now to configure the actual MCP client, now you're going to need Claude or Cursor. I use Claude. He's my mate. I love him. There's also instructions in here to do this with Cursor. They're very similar. And if you're using Claude, you need to use the desktop version. So you can access Claude on the web, but you need the desktop version to make this happen. And what you're going to do, you're going to click into Claude. It's going to say, how are you today? You can do it in the sidebar, or you can go up here and go File, Settings. And then it'll come down the bottom, we'll give you Developer. And under Developer, you get the option to Edit Config. If you already have MCP servers set up, you'll actually see them in here already. If I do Edit Config, it's going to say, here's the config file. It's going to direct you exactly to that, and I'm going to double click on that. And in my case, it's going to open up in VS Code for me because that's what I use to edit. So in the config file is where you actually let it know what MCP servers it can access. In my case, what Claude can access. It has a preferences already in here because that's obviously something I've decided I want it to not be in the menu bar. Oh no, it is in the menu bar, sorry. So it's true. So we're going to go back to our docs. It's going to say, use this example here. Now you can write this in if you wanted to, but you can just hit copy. And you're going to take that snippet and you're going to paste that in between the two yellow curly braces. The snippet they give you here, actually these top and bottom ones are the yellow curly braces. So in my case, I already have them. So I'm just going to take the bit that's in between them. And the reason they're already there is because I had preferences. I did also find that if I pasted this after preferences, I had a lot of trouble getting it to work. So I don't know why that is. So I'm going to paste it in above. And one thing you need to do, it'll say there's an error here. And the reason there's an error is because you need to put a little comma after this, because this is one object here for MCP servers, and this is a second object. So there always needs to be a comma between those, or you'll see you'll always get an error and this just won't work. So that's all we need to do in the config file at this point, except we need to update our API key and our endpoint. Go to Braze, we can copy the API key, which I'm not going to show you. I'll put that in here. I'm just going to paste that in. And then I'm going to go back to Braze. I'm going to copy the REST endpoint from up here. It doesn't really matter if someone can see that. That just really says what Braze server you're on. I think this one says I'm in France or something for some reason. And both those in there. And then you just hit save, and that config file is now saved. Now, if you go back into Claude and you go to new chat, for instance, or we look at settings, you'll notice that nothing has changed. It still doesn't recognize that there's an MCP server because you actually have to close it down for it to reload the config file. Now, when I close it down, I can see it's gone from everywhere in my system. I have to close it from the menu bar. Something I did discover, because it really likes to run in the background, is I have to open the task manager and close it everywhere to make sure it recognizes the MCP server. Control-Shift-Escape will bring up your task manager. And if you go at the very top here and you type in Claude or whatever one you're running, yep, I think it says there's no Claude running, so that's even better. Of course, because I'm recording. That doesn't appear. So, well, if it was there, I would click on it and do end task. So that's great. And now if I go and restart Claude, fire up my bro, it's going to take a minute. It's going to have a bit of a think. Might even bring up a second window for a minute because it's trying to work out what data's in the back. Now, if we go back to File, Settings, Developer, you'll see here now, Braze. So it's recognized there is an MCP server in there called Braze, and these are all the things that the UVX command you put in at the start, it's automatically put them in. Oh, but won't that open? Under advanced, it'll show your API key, so don't show anyone what's under there. And now if I go back and I do new chat, if I hit the filter toggle and go down, you'll actually see Braze is in this list now. You can turn it on and off in case you don't want it to use that server when you're doing a search. So now if I put what functions can I access with Braze, and it'll actually use that MCP server. It'll go, what can I do? And then it'll bring up another little window because it's like, oh, could not attach the server. No, it's got it. Sometimes it gives me this error, but then it works anyway. So here's all the functions it can access: get campaign list, get campaign details, get data series. And these are great. You can now like just ask it one of these statements and it will pull all that from Braze without you having to dig it out. So in my case, I'll do get canvas list. Now, just so you know, I don't have many canvases in there, but if I do get canvas list, I just write get canvas list. I hit enter, let it have a think. Something to note too, the very first time I did this, because the second time I've installed this on my computer, it took maybe, I'm going to say 2 minutes of thinking to figure out the MCP server, and then it's worked quickly every time since then. So don't be afraid if it's a little slow at the start. See, canvas list, it's gone straight in. It's given me the ID of the canvases. It's given me when it was last edited, what tags it has, tells me what they're called. So I might do, you can even just copy and paste this. I could do get catalog items. So So I won't have heaps in there, but it'll go through and it'll find all the items that are in catalogs. So it found a catalog called Marketing Text Adventure, which is correct. And in there, it will find item 000, opening scene. And inside that, it'll have a title, body copy, yep, buttons, tells me what's in each of those. So it would actually spell all these out. So if you had a certain catalog, you could say, get me catalog items from this catalog, and it will spell all them out. And it will do data and everything as well. So, I mean, it's really, really quite amazing. So we can do get DAU data series. So it's daily active users over time, which will be incredibly low for this, but we'll see how we go. So it's going to get the data from the last 30 days. There you go. Here's your daily active users. Here's your requested on August 26th. So there's 5 active users. That'd be right. That'd be me going in there. I was hooking up amplitude. And the data shows very limited activity with my app. Done. Look at that. You can set up an MCP server, which is so right now, it's unbelievable. Like, you'll get so many brownie points for being able to do that in under 5-10 minutes, and have it running inside Claude, for example, and be pulling stuff out of Braze without even having to open Braze up. And you can ask it questions. You might be doing in a report, and you can ask it a question about a canvas. You can get this to pull things together and form them into reports for you, and then turn it into data series. It's amazing. So I'd love to hear how you go with this. You can let me know in the comments, and if you have any problems, also let me know in the comments, and I'm always more than happy to help you out. And I know the command line stuff might be a bit new to some of you, but once you get in there, you can paste those lines in. It will just work. You'll be fine. But any errors, let me know. Happy days. Welcome to the future. If you got some value from this video, be sure to hit the like button. It really helps out the channel. And if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to hit subscribe and maybe watch this video next.